This is Michael Popok, Legal AF. Time to drill down into the upside-down world of Sam Alito, where flags that represent pro-Donald Trump movements, stop the steal movements, fly freely at homes owned by a sitting Supreme Court justice. Apparently, he believes without impunity. Blaming your wife for the first flag in Virginia, 20-foot flag, flying next to a driveway, isn't going to work. Finding out that you flew another flag at your vacation home in Long Beach Island, New Jersey, shout out to New Jersey, is also not going to work when that flag, the pine tree flag, is also one that's used by people both to oppose Donald, or to support Donald Trump, and to propose more Christianity in our country, which is founded on the separation of church and state. And now people are doing something about it, namely our senators and congressmen. Sheldon Whitehouse and Dick Durbin have sent a letter to the Chief Justice calling for, I'm going to read you from parts of it, calling for an immediate investigation of Justice Alito, and to have him immediately removed and recused from two cases involving the Jan 6th insurrection, and ultimately Donald Trump won the immunity decision, which we are still looking at my watch and tapping on it. We're still waiting for before this term ends and the final decision, opinion of the court is issued before they go on summer holiday. He should be recused from that, shouldn't participate in the deliberation of it or the writing of any opinion or concurrence or dissent. And he should be removed from another decision that we're waiting on that I'm sure will come out on the same day, which is about whether the obstruction of an official proceeding, which is the highest charge, including 2 counts against Donald Trump in the D.C. election interference case, whether that is appropriately applied to Jan 6 insurrectionists like Donald Trump or not. He should be removed from that. But Durbin and Whitehouse go further from their purchase of being on the Senate Judiciary Committee. They want an enhanced ethics investigation and code of conduct for the justices. And I think this is all a precursor to a couple of other things that are afoot in Congress. One of them is Steve Cohen, a representative from Tennessee, is issuing, has sponsored a resolution to censure Sam Alito, an official censure of him for having done these terrible things, which is violating the ethics code, participating overtly in political speech when he's supposed to be on the United States Supreme Court, the highest court of the land, the only branch that only has 9 people in it. I mean, sure, the executive branch has 1 person in it, but it's not like we have, a sitting Congress. But I don't think that goes far enough. And there's also a move now within Congress and from former government officials outside Congress calling for the impeachment and removal of Sam Alito under the enough is enough doctrine. Impeachment proceedings, they start in the House. There has to be a resolution. There have to be enough votes. There usually is a hearing, and usually the party that's in power in the House controls. Unfortunately, the Democrats are not in power. And so while they'll make the attempt, I'm sure, because it's not just good political theater and show. It's important to our democracy that justices, when you ride by their house for a system that's supposed to be blind, justice, literally, Lady Justice is blind, holding scales of equal proportions. You're not supposed to see a big fat thumb of one of the main justices that make the law of the land sitting on that scale. If I'm driving over to the United States Supreme Court, where I just was a couple of weeks ago, if I'm driving over and I just happen to be driving by, on the way down from Jersey where I live, all the way down, I passed Long Beach Island, I go past the house, and there's a upside down flag, a protest flag, and that's in favor of Donald Trump flying from Sam Alito's house. And then I pass his house in Virginia. There's another upside down flag, SOS, right? The flag of the opposition, the flag of the insurrectionist. And then I'm going there to make an argument about things related to Jan 6th. Aren't I in trouble? Look, I suggested one of the things the advocates could do, but there's no more advocates, right? All this information came out after basically all oral argument. Let me try that again. All oral argument, got it out, is over. The very last oral argument for this term was, of course, the immunity argument with Donald Trump. Now we're just waiting on the decisions. But if I was doing an oral argument, let's say even next year, the next term, and I had Sam Alito on there and some issue that will still reverberate about Donald Trump and Jan 6th, I would say I have to ask a question of the panel, particularly of Associate Justice Alito. Given your flags that you have flown and your First Amendment expression of political speech in violation of the ethics code, how can you assure me and my client that your big fat thumb is not on the scales of justice and you will give us a fair shake and you will be fair and impartial? How, sir, can you do that? I would do that. I think you can't just act like, it didn't happen. Just ignore the 800-pound gorilla in the room, So that's one. Two, impeachment. Starts in the House, as I said. Has to be sponsored, and then there have to be enough votes. Now, maybe Hakeem Jeffries, the minority leader, can figure out how to pull in some votes because he saved the speakership for the Republican by throwing his weight towards him and kept Mike what's-his-name in office. Maybe he can get some more votes back on his end. There's a very small gap between Republicans and Democrats on that panel. But even if not, I think it's worth the price of admission to go through the impeachment process and singe the wings of Sam Alito a little bit, put his feet to the fire. I think it's important. I think Democrats need to do it even when they're in the minority position and see what happens and put it to a vote, get it out of committee and put it to a vote. There's enough votes in the Senate to convict. I assure you, Democrats are in control. White House in Durban, very well respected. If that bill comes up to them, that impeachment bill, there will be a trial in the Senate and there will be a conviction of Sam Alito and the removal. But you got to get to that. Censures are great. I think Steve Cohen's great. I think he should lead the charge to censure Sam Alito. It's another way to run the flag, no pun intended, up the flagpole and see if anybody salutes, see if there's enough votes. It's a way to start getting votes together for the bigger thing, the bigger fish fry, right, is the impeachment. But it can't be left unchecked. We can't let them get away with it. Think of it the other way. Think of it if Ketanji Brown Jackson or Kagan flew a Black Lives Matter flag, or they flew an upside down flag for some reason because they think the world's upside down, or in protest, some sort of other protest flag. Suppose they did that. How about if they flew a Joe Biden, or how about that? How about if a United States Supreme Court justice flew a flag that said dark, let's go Brandon. Sorry, I actually forgot their meme. You'd have them removed. They're not allowed to do that. Sick of the one-size-fits-all method, especially when it comes to your erectile dysfunction treatment? Well, good news. Now you've got options with Hims. Hims is changing men's healthcare by providing access to affordable sexual health treatments from the comfort of your couch. Hims provides access to doctor-trusted ED treatment options such as chewable hard mints, brand name treatments like Viagra, or generic alternatives for up to 95% cheaper. The process is simple and 100% online. No uncomfortable doctor's visits. Answer a series of questions on their site, and a medical provider will determine the right treatment option. If prescribed, your medication ships to you for free. No insurance is needed. If ED is getting you down, it's time you join the hundreds of thousands of trusted Hims subscribers and get treated. Start your free online visit today at hims.com/legalaf. That's HIMS.com/legalaf for your personalized ED treatment options. hims.com/legalaf. Hard mints are chewable, compounded products which are not approved by or verified for safety or effectiveness by the FDA. Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Subscription is required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan. I know that they've gotten confused, Supreme Court justices, when they go away on summer holiday. And they give commencement speeches and they go abroad on some dime, usually some big fat cat MAGA donor's dime. And they stand up at a podium and they crack jokes and they grow a vacation beard. Ha ha ha. I know they've confused that with that they have some sort of right as a sitting United States Supreme Court justice to criticize people who are against their positions, criticize their opinions, literally their written opinions, and make light of things like ripping away a woman's right to choose under the Dobbs decision. I know they think that's funny, but this has gone too far. And for the first instinct for Sam Alito was to blame his wife. Oh, she put the flag up. Well, how does he explain the second flag? The dog ran it up the flagpole. He didn't see it. It's not like one of those little flags you wave during a Memorial Day parade. Yay. It's 20. I have one at my office. It's 20 feet or more. It's like 23-foot flag up a pole next to his driveway. He saw it. He endorsed it. And anybody driving by, the appearance of impropriety is manifest, just as it is with the right side up pine tree flag that he flew in New Jersey. I know we have the Pine Barrens in New Jersey, but that's not why he was flying the flag. Is that what he's going to say? He's just a big lover of the Pine Barrens and of this weird flag from the Revolutionary War period that it's been adopted now as let's reinstall more Christianity in public life and support Donald Trump. Sure. It's scary. I mean, I'm used to having at least the appearance of propriety of an independent and fair judiciary, and that I'm not already, it's not like it's like a baseball player stepping into a batter's box and he's already got 2 strikes against him. And the third pitch comes in, strike, you're out. Like, what? Wait, what do you mean I'm out? I just got here. All right. Well, Alito's got 2 strikes against him, and I think that's enough. How many? And what are we going to find next? Right? What are we going to find next? I'm just positing here. Clarence Thomas is really good friends with a Nazi memorabilia collector who's also a major donor, and vacations with him. Harlan Crow. You can look it up. And he collects Nazi memorabilia. He's got like Hitler's teapot, and he's got all sorts of Nazi insignias and armbands. Suppose he gave one to Clarence Thomas. He has it in his house. I don't know. I've never been inside Clarence Thomas's house. I don't know. And then what? We'd be okay with that? Is that okay? You've got wives like Ginny Thomas who are trying to actively overthrow democracy and oppose the sitting president of the United States. You've got another wife that Alito blames for flying the flag upside down, but he married her. They live in the house together, and he endorsed it every day. And then, of course, he didn't know we'd find pictures of the second flag. So I got to cover this stuff, the censures, the impeachment, and talk about the process related to it. Because I can assure you of one thing. The leadership in the Senate, particularly of the Democrats, White House, Durbin and others, is not going to take this lying down. And they want Roberts to come talk to them about it. Let me read to you from the letter. I think that's important too. So this is a letter dated May the 23rd, right on Memorial Day weekend. Dear Chief Justice Roberts, we write regarding recent New York Times reports that an upside-down American flag was displayed at Sam Alito's yard in January 2021, and another flag associated with the Jan 6th attack on the Capitol was flown at another of his residences in the summer of 2023. We urge you to immediately take appropriate steps to ensure that Alito will recuse himself in any cases related to the 2020 presidential election and the January 6th attack on the Capitol, including the 2 that I just talked about. And they're asking for a meeting as soon as possible in his capacity as Chief Justice and presiding officer over the Judicial Conference of the U.S. to talk about the ethics crisis, this is their words, at the United States Supreme Court. It's all on page 1. Durbin and White House go on to say, by displaying or permitting the display of a prominent symbol of the Stop the Steal campaign outside his homes, Justice Alito clearly created an appearance of impropriety in violation of the Code of Conduct for justices of the United States Supreme Court, one that was just adopted less than a year ago. He also created reasonable doubt as to his impartiality in certain proceedings, according to photos and contemporaneous notes, and then they walk through the symbols that were flying there, so there's no doubt. They go on to say on page 2 that the Code of Conduct provides the Supreme Court justices should avoid impropriety and the appearance of impropriety in all activities, specifying that, quote, a justice should respect and comply with the law and act at all times in a manner that promotes public confidence in the integrity and the impartiality of the judiciary. Is that what those flags did? Does that promote public confidence, or does that scare the crap out of you as you drive by it? The Supreme Court also prohibits its employees from engaging in partisan political activity. What do you call flying 2 Jan 6 flags? That's not partisan political activity. The prohibition applies broadly to, as they say in the letter, to political activity relating to elections contested by political parties. The Code of Conduct further states that a Supreme Court justice should refrain from political activity. They go on to say, by displaying the upside down and appeal to heaven flags outside his homes, Justice Alito engaged actively in political activity, failed to avoid the appearance of impropriety, and failed to act in a manner that promotes public confidence in the impartiality of the judiciary. And they want him to step down from the cases that I just described, and they want the Chief Justice to meet immediately, talk about strength and ethics, and this will be a foundation, a bedrock to be used by members of the Senate and the House, primarily on the Democratic side, but all those that love freedom, all those that love democracy, to censure and or impeach Sam Alito, which I call for here on Legal AF. We'll follow it all on the MeidasTouch Network and on Legal AF exclusively right here. This is a network we're building with you with our bare hands. We have no outside investors. You can help by free subscribing to the MeidasTouch Network and also to Legal AF. And then you can join us on Wednesdays and Saturdays at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. For our podcast, we curate the top 4 or 5 stories at the intersection of law and politics. We bring it to you right here. If you like my work, give me a thumbs up and leave a comment. It does help with the algorithm. It really does. And you can slide over to YouTube, MeidasTouch, look under playlists or contributors for Michael Popok. You'll find, 1,300 of these hot takes just like this one. And so until my next hot takes, until my next Legal AF, this is Michael Popok reporting. Heary, heary, Legal AF Law Breakdown is now in session. Go beyond the headlines and get a deep dive into the important legal concepts you need to know and we discuss every day on Legal AF. Exclusive content you won't find anywhere else, all for the price of a couple of cups of coffee. Join us at patreon.com/legalaf. That's patreon.com/legalaf.